Elford has a safety program to ensure the safety and health of workers on their projects, and the following are the site-specific safety program's general safety rules for working on this project. Upon the completion of the site safety orientation, you will be asked to sign an acknowledgement that this information was covered with you, and at this time, there were no questions with the site-specific rules. Section 1. Job Site Orientation. Each employee working on the site must complete the site-specific safety orientation prior to beginning work. During the orientation, employees will be informed of any additional rules or safety requirements that exceed all state or federal regulations, as well as rules that go above and beyond the basic OSHA CFR 1926 or 1910 standards. Section 2. Accident and Incident Reporting. Any employee injured on this job site must report the injury to their direct supervisor. Their supervisor will notify the Elford site superintendent verbally and will then submit an incident investigation report to Elford. Once a thorough investigation is completed, any incident considered a near hit shall be reported to Elford Project Supervision for investigation. All incident investigations must be completed by a competent person. Section 3. Personal protective equipment and work attire. All employees working on site will be required to wear the proper work attire, consisting of full-length khaki or denim pants, a shirt with sleeves, and work shoes or work boots. Work shoes or work boots should be hard-soled and leather-bodied footwear. Tank tops or sleeveless shirts are prohibited. All employees working on an Elford project are required to wear a hard hat. Face, hearing, respiratory, as well as eye and hand protection are required. High-vis will be required based upon the particular work being completed. Each contractor is responsible for supplying their employees with the appropriate PPE required to perform their job safely. Section 4. Fall Protection. All work performed above 6 feet of another work level, with the exception of ladders, must be protected by a guardrail system, personal fall arrest system, or safety net system. All employees using fall protection equipment must be trained on the proper storage, inspection, and use of all components of their assigned fall protection system. All fall protection plans and equipment selection must be performed by a competent person. The use of flagging as a fall protection system is only allowed for use on the roof of a building. This flagging must be maintained and be 6 feet from the edge of the roof. Fall protection components must meet or exceed the requirements set forth in 29 CFR 1926-502, OSHA's Fall Protection Standard. Section 5. Emergency Procedures. Employees shall note the emergency and security numbers 911 while working on this project. Employees working on site must have a full understanding of the emergency evacuation procedure. Emergency contact information for the site superintendent and Elford management will be posted in the job office or job trailer, along with all required labor law postings. Section 6. Hazard Communication. Each contractor on site shall submit copies of safety data sheets for all chemicals that are brought on site to the Elford superintendent. Copies will be kept on file in the Elford job site office. Each contractor is responsible for ensuring all chemical containers are labeled with the appropriate product information and hazard information and meet the requirements of the Federal Global Harmonization Standards. If a new product is delivered to the project site, the contractor used shall be responsible for submitting the appropriate SDS information to Elford upon its arrival. Section 7. Concrete and masonry work. Special attention shall be given to protect employees from health hazards of concrete and masonry, such as silica dust. All protruding reinforcing steel and D-pins onto and into which employees could fall shall be guarded to eliminate the hazard of impalement. Contractors shall ensure all adequate shoring or bracing remains in place until permanent supporting elements are in place or concrete has been tested to assure sufficient strength has been achieved to prevent collapse. Eyewash stations shall be located near all areas where employees are mixing mortar, erecting brick or CMU walls, grouting or placing and working with wet concrete. Cutting of silica-containing materials requires an integrated dust control systems, and it must be fully functional at all times. Open air dry cutting of masonry or CMU is prohibited. Section 8. Cranes and derricks. Cranes used on the site must have a current annual inspection sticker. Proof of operator qualification must be submitted to Elford prior to the start of work. All contractors using a crane to perform work must submit a written plan to Elford for review prior to the start of work. The written plan must also include a written assessment of the job site hazards that may impact the crane operation. Materials must not be swung closer than 20 feet to energized power lines. Section 9. Rigging and signaling. A competent rigger appointed by the subcontractor shall inspect all rigging equipment. All rigging equipment that is defective or damaged shall be immediately tagged and removed from the project site. Wire rope slings, nylon slings, and chain slings shall bear a legible manufacturer's capacity tag and be designed for hoisting operations. Tag lines shall be used to control movement for all loads. All hooks used for overhead lifting shall be equipped with a safety latch, or alternate lifting methods, such as clamps, must be used. Shakeout or sorting hooks may only be used for unloading materials from trucks and will not be used for overhead lifting. All employees signaling hoisting operations must be qualified. Section 10. Scaffold and aerial work platforms. All scaffolding shall have appropriate scaffold planks, guardrails, and toe board, and shall be constructed per 1926-451, OSHA's criteria for scaffolds. Only trained competent employees can erect or dismantle scaffolding. All scaffolding shall be inspected prior to each use and tagged appropriately. Employees using scissor lifts shall make sure that the mid-rail chain or gate is closed while working from the platform. Standing on the guardrails is strictly prohibited. Employees using aerial or telescoping boom lifts shall have a harness and a lanyard connection to the appropriate anchor point while working from the lift. Standing on the guardrail is strictly prohibited. Section 11. Ladders. The subcontractor's competent person shall inspect all ladders for visible defects on a periodic basis and after any occurrence that could affect their safe use. Each employee using a ladder shall also inspect ladders before each use. Unless otherwise specified by the manufacturer, all A-frame ladders should only be used in the fully open position with the spreader bar locked. All A-frame ladders must have slip-resistant shoes on the bottom of each leg and should only be placed on a clean level surface to prevent accidental movement. Never stand on the top or on the next to the top step of an A-frame ladder. Portable extension ladders should only be used for their designed intended purpose and shall not be modified in any way to make them longer. Extension ladder used for access or egress to another level shall be secured to prevent accidental displacement and must extend at least 3 feet above the upper landing surface. Extension ladders shall be set up at a 4-to-1 angle, 4 feet up, 1 foot out. Never use a metal portable ladder within 10 feet of an energized overhead power line. Section 12. Electric safety. Extension cords with splices, exposed wiring, missing ground pins, stress relief damage, or cords with damage to outer housings must be removed from service. All flexible cords are to be of 3-wire type and rated for hard or extra hard usage. Cords should be indelibly marked S, ST, SO, or STO. Two-pronged cords or light-duty cords are prohibited. All temporary outlets must be GFCI protected. Portable ground fault circuit interrupters must be used at any permanent outlet or at any outlet where GFCI protection is not provided. Low-voltage circuit interrupters or plug strips designed for office use are prohibited from the construction area. All energized components must be guarded with the manufacturer's specified cover or plates at all times, including open punch-outs and open circuit breaker openings. Working in an energized panel or on an energized circuit is prohibited. Temporary lights shall be adequately supported at least 8 feet above the walking working surface to prevent accidental contact, and light bulbs shall be in all energized sockets. Section 13. Trench and excavation. The subcontractor's competent person, as defined by OSHA, shall directly supervise all excavation trenching work performed on site. The competent person is responsible for completing daily inspection of the excavation, adjacent areas, and protective systems for evidence of change conditions that could result in a cave-in. The inspections shall occur at the start of each shift and throughout the shift as needed. If there is a potential for a cave-in, or if the excavation is more than 5 feet deep and not entirely of stable rock, the excavation shall be benched, sloped, or shored with a protective system to prevent a possible cave-in. A ladder or other egress system is required for excavations more than 4 feet deep. If using a trench box for protection, the ladder must be located within the box. Surface encumbrance that are hazardous to employees shall be removed or supported, sidewalks, adjacent structure, utilities, etc. Excavated materials and other objects shall be kept at least 2 feet from the edge of the excavation. Prior to the start of work, subcontractors must contact a utility locating contractor, such as OOPS 811, to make sure all underground utilities are located and visibly marked. These markings must be maintained during the duration of the work. All contractors performing work that disturbs soil, such as but not limited to scraping, trenching and excavating, installing fence posts, driving D-pins, or even landscaping, are required to fill out and submit an Elford soil disturbance dig permit with the site superintendent prior to the start of work. Section 14. Demolition. Prior to the start of demolition operations, a structural engineering survey shall be completed by a competent person to determine the condition of the structural framing and walls to prevent the possibility of unplanned collapse of any portion of the structure. Any adjacent structure where employees may be exposed shall also be similarly checked. All electric, gas, water, pressure piping systems, sewer, and other service lines shall be shut off, capped, or otherwise controlled outside the building line before demolition work may begin. Before the start of demolition of supporting walls, all shoring and bracing must be in place and inspected. All structural shoring or bracing plans must be designed by a qualified engineer. Section 15. Housekeeping. All on-site construction materials must be organized in safe manner, including being stable if stacked. All work areas must have an egress route free from trip hazards such as construction materials and debris. All food waste containers, and disposable drink containers must be disposed of after use. All scrap lumber with nails or screws sticking out of them must be bent over or removed to avoid potential injury. Section 16. Additional rules. Any additional safety rules specific to the project will be covered by the site superintendent at the conclusion of the site safety orientation. Section 17. Safety enforcement. Violation or lack of cooperation with regard to the site-specific safety plan by any employee, Elford, or subcontractors will indicate non-compliance with the SSSP's provisions. Violations by a subcontractor's employee may also be grounds for termination of the subcontractor's contract. First notice: this site-specific safety orientation is to be considered by all employees and subcontractors as their first warning. Simply put, these are the rules. If you fail to follow them, you will receive a safety violation notice or other actions as determined appropriate for the situation and/or circumstances. Second notice: you may be sent home for the balance of the day. A written safety violation notice will be sent to your employer. The violator must meet with Elford's site superintendent before beginning work the following workday to review the violation. It is the site superintendent's decision whether the violator may return to work or be replaced. Third notice: your work on this project will be terminated and you will be immediately removed from the property. At this point, you will be banned from further access to the job site. Section 18. Acknowledgement. By signing this orientation, I am stating that I have read and understand the above information, agree that it is a condition of employment for this project, and Elford, Inc. project personnel have explained this to me. As we wrap up this safety video, remember that your commitment to following the site-specific safety program is crucial for ensuring not just your own well-being, but also that of your colleagues. Your understanding and adherence to these guidelines reflect Elford's dedication to a safe and healthy work environment. By signing the acknowledgement at the end of your orientation, you're taking an important step towards contributing to a culture of safety and responsibility on this project. Let's work together to keep our site safe, secure, and productive. Thank you for your attention, and remember, all in, all safe.